Still, it's a very important topic, the origin of humans on this planet. And as we know, that the standard conception in the modern scientific community and world of science, and in general in the world of what we learn in school like that, is of course that man can also be explained in terms of evolution, that it seems to work. Magnus, kan du lige slukke lyset?
Jo.
Og inde i hjerterummet. So of course the simple story is that not only did life arise from chemicals, and chemicals became living, became simple bacteria, and then through gradual evolution over hundreds of millions and billions of years, life has gradually arisen, and also, that of course includes everyone, including us. And humans have arisen over the last, from some different kind of primates, apes, monkeys, type of beings, over millions of years. But actually, modern human is a fairly recent phenomenon. Is the general idea. It used to be when I
Skal jeg så tage højtalerne med det samme?
Nej, vi bruger højtalerne. When I went to school, then they said still saying something like 40,000 years for modern man, Homo sapiens. And then they, a couple of decades ago, they pushed it back to something like 100,000 years. And now they pushed it back to maybe 200,000 years or something like that. But that's still fairly recent. If we on the other hand look at the Vedas, for example, then the Vedas, the Bhagavatam, the Puranas, and so on, talks about human beings for millions and millions of years, and so there's a clear, there's a clear contradiction between these two ideas. So with that in mind, two of our devotee scientists, Karma and Sariputta, went off in the 80s and tried to look into the archaeology supporting the modern idea of the recent appearance of Homo sapiens, and to see if there was any evidence that could also support an idea that maybe Homo sapiens was much more ancient, much more in accord with the Vedic ideas. So, and this is actually what we're going to have a look at what came out of their research. So see here, this is Forbidden Archaeology, Evidence for Extreme Human Antiquity by Michael Cremo, which is the same as Karma.
Is it clear?
quite.
Maybe I'm the only one, but I cannot hear anything.
You cannot hear anything.
Now I can hear you speak loud, but can we use the speak?
Yeah, I can speak into it. So, this is a PowerPoint presentation that Dr. Karma, as you see a picture of here, that he gave when he was here in Denmark in 2009. He's been here twice in 2007, 2009. We published, actually my wife and I published his main book, Forbidden Archaeology, in Danish, and subsequently he came and he lectured in, twice in Denmark, and he gave me his PowerPoint. He doesn't give his PowerPoint presentation to anyone as far as I understand, but I got it because I translated his book and I know the topic fairly well, he thinks. So, so it's mainly his presentation, and I'm just mainly repeating what I've learned from him. And as said, the work of Dr. Karma and Lalitanatha took off with their inspiration from the Vedic text, that actually there has been humans as us and human civilization also on this planet for millions and millions of years. And they got the idea, they got the idea to look into if that actually was a fact. And they, as a result, they published the book Forbidden Archaeology after actually 8 years of research. And also Dr. Karma himself has subsequently been given lectures, and he's recognized as a top expert in this particular field of archaeology in terms of human origins. And see here, there are some, he just points out that he's been given presentations. The same presentation you'll see now has been given, for example, at the Royal Institution in London. It's one of the most prestigious scientific institutions in England. The Russian Academy of Science in Moscow, at the Bulgarian Academy of Science in Sofia, and Ukrainian Academy of Sciences, and he's also presented scientific papers and got scientific papers accepted at major archaeological conferences all over the world. World Archaeological Congress in Delhi in 1994, the European Association of Archaeologists in September 2007, the International Congress for the History of Science in China in 2005, and again given the talk at many universities around, and so on. And it's been taken quite seriously, although it's very controversial in many of his conclusions. He concluded actually that there's a lot of evidence for extreme human antiquity, and a lot of this archaeological evidence has been suppressed because it contradicts the standard Darwinian account of human origins. And how old is a human species? When Charles Darwin, you see here was, according to his idea, of course Darwin himself didn't give any dates on humans as such, but it was clear that since humans are so advanced, it must also be quite recent evolution of humans. That was, more or less understood. So, in the wake of theory of evolution, paleoanthropologists, which are those particular kind of scientists who are dealing with human origins, they give us a time scale which you can see here. It's maybe a little unclear, but if you look at up here, like 100,000 years ago, that's Homo sapiens, and then between 100,000 and 1 million years ago, you have Neanderthals, and you have different other species such as Homo erectus and like that. Then you have from between 1 million, and you go, now it says 10 million here, but that's going too far back. But if you like, between, go back to like 3-4 million years ago, you have species which are called Australopithecus, which is basically, looks like a monkey chimpanzee, but they claim it has some, human traits, and this species has evolved and that ultimately became Homo, humans as us. And then of course, if you go further back, millions and millions and tens and hundreds of million years back, we have the standard evolutionary account for the origin and the development of life. So that's what's been we see here, and we hear that all the evidence support this idea. This is what you can read in general textbooks. So of course that contradicts both, you see, the Veda here, and not only that, but actually practically all spiritual traditions on this planet talk about in very ancient presence of humans. Maybe we have some exceptions, like the Christians would talk about the planet being very young, everything is very recent. But besides that, all these great spiritual traditions you find on most continents, they talk about previous human civilizations before this civilization, and actually humans have been existing for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. So if that's true, then it should be possible also to find reports of archaeological evidence for humans existing millions of years ago. And if it's false, then of course such reports will not exist. So the first thing that Sadhguru and Vivekananda found when they started researching this was that actually in the general literature, what you can call secondary literature, and that secondary literature is what most people they read. These are the textbooks, magazines, TVs, school books, so on, scientific magazines and so on. And there's nothing there about extreme human antiquity, evidence for extreme human antiquity mentioned at all. So, but then, what they present there all confirms this particular timeline as this is a standard timeline. But when they went on, because of course they said that secondary literature is, by meaning it means secondary. It's just derived from a primary source of evidence of scientific reports. So they started looking into the primary literature, and somewhat to their surprise actually, they found that there are many reports of evidence for extreme human antiquity in the primary scientific literature, both past and present. That means past if from scientific reports 100 years back, 200 years back, but also in modern, in contemporary scientific reports. Actually, it turned out there is evidence of human present Homo sapiens going millions and millions of years back. And they were somewhat surprised when they found that, and I know that at first they were looking at it, and they thought that we'd spend a few weeks or a month looking into this. This was just an interesting topic to investigate. But then when they started digging, and they actually found more and more, then it went 1 year, 2 years, and went on, and actually spent 8 years just reading all kinds of archaeological journals and reports and original reports from the excavations that were taking place from all over the world, all over the world in many languages. And Tutankhamun himself is very good at language actually, so he himself was reading these reports in different French, German, Spanish, Italian, I know were many findings there, and he translated them into English, So, yeah, and actually if you look at it, if you include in the, all this evidence which is not commonly known, then actually a completely different picture of the timeline of humans on this planet emerges. In fact, you'll find, if you're down here we're talking about a couple million years back, and then of course here, 500 million, 200 million, and so on. And actually you find evidence of humans all the way, and or at least of some intelligently cultured beings, but also of humans. And you have a little look at a little while, at some of this evidence. So, which means actually this whole scenario, which you see this standard picture, going the monkey that gradually starts becoming two-legged or walking with two legs and like that, and it's basically useless. Cannot be what happens. And it's just a reference. That was the first time that Dr. Karma he presented this research in 1994. It was called Puranic Time, the Archaeological Record, and it was presented at the World Archaeological Congress in 1994 and published in the proceedings from the conference, which means actually that means it's accepted as a there's a procedure which scientists consider very important called peer review. Anyone can write anything, but unless it is approved by peer review, means qualified scientists in a particular field will have to look through it and approve is this actually worth publishing. If you cannot get your material peer reviewed, then very often nobody can take it seriously. It's kind of a stamp of approval. So it's peer reviewed, these things that have been referenced here that Dr. Karma has published. Just in case you might say, this is just a freak scientist, no serious scientist has taken it, has accepted it. But it's not correct. It's definitely been accepted by the mainstream archaeologists. Although he's considered a fringe scientist with some controversial ideas, but nevertheless a serious scientist. This is the Forbidden Archaeology, the book that came out in 1993 as a result of their research. I don't think we don't have it here, but it's like 900 pages. And we got a lot of, discussion was mentioned and discussed in many, in some of these journals as you see here. And some prominent scientists and intellectuals, they reviewed it, and here's one, David Allroyd, who wrote, "So has Forbidden Archaeology made any contribution to the literature on paleoanthropology? Our answer is a guarded yes for two reasons. First, much of the historical material has not been scrutinized in such detail before. Two, the book raises a central problematic regarding the lack of certainty in scientific so-called truth claims." I don't know if you catch all what he says.
I don't know, you said what?
The book raises a central problematic regarding the lack of certainty in scientific truth claims. Understand?
Yeah, that I understand, but you said something after that I didn't.
No?
Okay.
I don't remember what I said. I said so-called truth claims. It says further, I think that's the same Tim Murray, certainly provides the historian of archaeology with a useful compendium of case studies in the history and sociology of scientific knowledge, which can be used to foster debate within archaeology about how to describe the epistemology of one's discipline. I'll just go on this. I don't know if it's complex. And further, there's one more. Here is also a Danish professor from University of Copenhagen who reviewed it, and he wrote here, "Forbidden Archaeology is exciting reading material. The book is a tour de force through innumerable archaeological and paleoanthropological facts." It actually got a 2-page central piece coverage in Politiken, one of the biggest papers in Denmark, in 1994.
After him saying that, how was his future in...
Well, I mean, he's still there, but he had to become very anti-creationist and actually proclaim his his adherence to Darwinian theory and like that. And later on, he's hard to pull out more. He was naive that he could write such a favorable article or something that is anti-Darwinian. He didn't know it wasn't. And he's an atheist. I know him for many years. I mean, historian means he's actually a historian of religion, and so he's also studied us and many new religious movements. And in one sense, friendly, favorable in other way. Not very bright. Here is Hidden History of Human Race. It's the same book in a popular version, condensed version, which is the one that we published, translated into Danish, that has been translated into many, many languages. Here is our Danish version. This is a Bulgarian version, supposedly. So, since there seems to be so much evidence found, then one can question why is this evidence not in the secondary literature, in the textbooks? And the point is there seems to be what is a filter that is filtering knowledge within the world of science, where, in other words, what is according to standard theories or accepted theories, evidence like that is accepted very, very easily. But evidence that contradicts the standard theory of human origins is being scrutinized and criticized and critiqued and to the point and rejected, because there seems to be two standards in operating within science. Not deliberate. It's not that the science as such are evil parts taking part in big conspiracies like that. But it's more like a human, a way humans very often work. If you see something which is completely according to your, or someone tells us something which doesn't in any way contradict, our general conceptions, we are, that's interesting. You saw that. But if someone tells that, like for example, I can tell you, I just saw. For example, I saw the Boeing's new, what is called, Dreamliner flying over here. It's a new airplane. So you probably believe that, there's airplanes. It's a little rare, but far out, they're flying now, these new machines. So you probably believe it. Why should I tell you a lie? But I tell you, I just saw a UFO flying over here, landing in the park down here. I just saw it. Then you say, how can that? I cannot believe that. So what's the difference? One is according to your general conceptions, and others completely contradictory to what is possible, what is not possible. And it does work. I mean, like for example, because I have seen UFOs, but you don't believe I've seen them. I'm sure you do.
I believe.
But I have a hard time. When I tell it to people, I do. I mean, because many have seen them and they don't tell about them because people look at you as you're crazy. They don't want that reaction, but I don't want to myself be kind of intimidated by that. So I tell people what I've seen. But you see two different reactions if you tell about something ordinary or something that goes completely against their preconceived ideas about what is possible, what's not possible. So that's basically what is causing this knowledge filtration within the world of archaeology in particular, and actually within the world of science in general very often. So this explains that. Let's see here, how does it go on from here? This is a geologist, Virginia Steen McIntyre. Yeah. So now, after all this introductory talk, we'll start actually looking at some of the controversial evidence that has been put aside by archaeologists, by scientists. And the first case is a case from Mexico, where this woman, Virginia Steen McIntyre, was a geologist. She was involved in that. The place was called Huayatlaco, and in the 1970s there were excavations in that place. Why? Why do you want light?
For the camera.
Okay. So there were excavations. So they found in a strata, they found many stone implements of a very advanced nature, the ones that normally are associated with Cro-Magnon man from France, which dates something like 30,000 years back. So they found similar advanced stone implements in Mexico, and the excavations were conducted by this archaeologist Cynthia Irving Williams. Here are picture from the excavations. Here are one of the implements that was found. So then, of course, the archaeologists would like to know how old are these implements that we are uncovering here. So they called for a team of geologists from the US Geological Survey. They didn't date them themselves, but they had some professional geologists to date these stone tools. And the geologists used 4 separate methods of dating. And they got, by the uranium series dates, there was some camel bone butcher marks. They were found along with stone implements, because this is apparently a method where you need organic material to test it. So there they got a date of 245,000 years. Another dating method, 270,000 years. And all in all, the geologists, they concluded that this site must be 250,000 years old. And when that was, when they published that date or present that date to the archaeologists, then they got a problem. The reaction was not favorable, because that's not possible. There has only been humans like us in America, at the most for 30,000 years, they were told. Most will say 12,000 years, but some will a little more open, they say 30,000 years. But 250,000 years, impossible. So the archaeologists simply rejected this dating, said it's not possible. And the geologists had an extremely hard time having the datings and the work published anywhere. It couldn't get published in a regular archaeological journal. They ended up publishing in this what's called quaternary research, which is a kind of a fringe scientific journal, but open to controversial things, but also into the Atlantis and UFOs and stuff like that. And there they published these dates. And Virginia Steen McIntyre, she writes here, narrating about what happens. She writes, "Not being an anthropologist, I didn't realize how deeply woven into our thought the current theory of human evolution has become. Our work at Huayatlaco has been rejected by most archaeologists because it contradicts that theory, period." She was very clear. Now they don't want to accept it because our